Grace and peace to you all and welcome to my talk. My name is Anissa Batiste and I am from the Thusia Seventh-day Adventist Church. Some call me Sister Anissa. We are a revival of original Seventh-day Adventism and ancient apostolic Christianity. I'd like to comment on a recent development in the media. It is being talked about a lot in America, and I'm sure in the ears of any who's following the issue of the Charlie Kirk assassination and pronouncements from his widow, Erica Kirk, since that time. So recently, Erica Kirk has appeared in interviews in the media where she's promoting a book that Charlie Kirk authored called Stop in the Name of God. Before he was assassinated back in September, he himself spoke about this book in interviews, and he spoke about the fact that he kept the seventh-day Sabbath and he lauded its virtues, and he looked forward to the book being published about it. Now he died before the book was published, and Mrs. Kirk is now promoting this book. In one of her interviews, she refers to his tradition of coming home on a Friday evening, dropping his bags, etc., and that he would use the phrase as a greeting, Shabbat Shalom. And some are reacting to that in ways to suggest and insinuate that one, the Sabbath is Jewish, and two, Christianity is opposed to the Sabbath, which they're calling Jewish. Listen to some of the tweets I saw or posts on X by The American. He said, Shabbat Shalom, really? I'm not expected to believe that he, a self-professed Christian, would come home and use that term in a home with no Jews in it. She sold her dead husband to Israel. Another one, going by the name Mr. Ineffable, he said, wasn't Charlie Kirk a Christian? The Friday evening phone in the junk drawer and Shabbat Shalom took me for a loop, not trying to pick it apart, genuinely asking. So this person is saying, I'm genuinely asking if he wasn't a Christian, and if then, how come he would say Shabbat Shalom? As if Christianity is against the use of the Hebrew phrase Shabbat Shalom, which is referring to the Sabbath and peace, and saying basically have a peaceful Sabbath, a good Sabbath, something like pleasant Sabbath, as we would say. And here's another one. Diligent Denizen, he said, and I quote, Diligent Denizen said, there it is, Erica Kirk promoting Charlie Kirk's book on Fox, citing Shabbat Shalom, a Jewish reference to the Sabbath. A Jewish reference to the Sabbath, he said. And then he said in bold and in capital letters, Charlie Kirk was a Christian. This all seems like a desperate effort to create a perception that Charlie Kirk wasn't abandoning Israel, and it's gross. Now, while we're not going to discuss right now the issue of Charlie Kirk abandoning Israel, and the fact that it may be true, and it is true, that Turning Point USA and Erica Kirk are giving the impression that he was pro-Israel down to his death, when that was not the case, and we have Charlie's own words to prove it. While we're not talking about that right now, notice this person says that Shabbat Shalom is a Jewish reference to the Sabbath, and he also says Charlie Kirk was a Christian, so the insinuation is that Christianity is against the Sabbath, and also that the Sabbath is Jewish. Let's answer that from the Bible. Is it true that the Sabbath is Jewish and that Christianity is against the Sabbath? No, it isn't. In Mark chapter 2, verse 27 and 28, Jesus Christ had these things to say, I quote, and he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Did you hear that? The Sabbath was made for man, that's humanity, and not man for the Sabbath. So not any race or group or class of humanity made especially for the Sabbath, but the Sabbath was made for or to benefit humanity, man. And Christ also shows that it's his Sabbath, not the Jews' Sabbath, for example, if you were to put that interpretation to it. He said in verse 28, therefore the Son of Man is Lord, or Yahweh also, of the Sabbath. So the Sabbath belongs to Yahweh, and Yahweh is the same Son of Man who is Jesus, or Yahshua, the one who was Yahweh, Savior in a temple of flesh. Jesus Christ is very clear. The Sabbath was made for humanity, not a class of humanity for the Sabbath. And the Sabbath belongs to Yahweh, who Jesus is and not to the Jews. But we could go further to see this. Let's go to the beginning when God made man. In the book of Genesis chapter 1, we have Jesus, who is the creator. We have the account showing that Jesus, the creator, made the Sabbath for man. And the man there is male and female. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, 27, and 31, which shows us he did it on the sixth day, it says, quote, "And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." And then verse 27 says it was done. So God created man, in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. So when God made man, he made him male and female, humanity, only two genders. In verse 31, we were told this happened on the sixth day. It says, "And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good, and the evening and the morning were the sixth day." So on the sixth day, God created man. Who is man there? Adam and Eve, male and female, only two genders, no more, only two genders. So that's the sixth day. What happened on the seventh? Chapter 2, verse 1, Genesis 2, verse 1 to 3. "Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made." So on the seventh day, the day right after he had made man, which is male and female, humanity, not a Jew, not a Greek, not a Vincentian, not an American, not a Filipino, but man, male and female. On the seventh day, he rested from all his work that he had created and made. So who was the man that Christ referred to in Mark chapter 2, verse 27, that the Sabbath was made for? It was male and female. It was Adam and Eve. It wasn't a Jew. It wasn't a Gentile. There were no Jews here. So the Sabbath is not Jewish. The Sabbath came forth from the hand of the Creator and made for humanity. So much so, it belongs to God and not to Jews, and it's not Jewish, and it's not made for Jews only. God tells us in Isaiah chapter 58, I'm going there now in my Bible, Isaiah 58 verse 13, God refers to the 7-day Sabbath as my Sabbaths. It says here, "And if thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of Yahweh, honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor speaking thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words." So that's Isaiah 58 and verse 13. Yahweh God calls it my holy day, the 7-day Sabbath, and he also calls it the holy of Yahweh. So it's Yahweh's holy day. Also in the book of Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 12 and 20, and I will refer to it, God is calling the 7-day Sabbath my Sabbaths. Check it out. Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 12 and 20. So you see, the Sabbath is Yahweh's Sabbath, his holy day, and the Sabbath was made for man, or male and female, two genders, and there were no Greek, there was no Jew there. So it's not a Jewish Sabbath, okay? The words Shabbat, Shalom are Hebrew. Shabbat, Sabbath, Shalom, peace. Whether a person who is not Hebrew or who is Hebrew wants to use it, that's up to them. But it doesn't say the Sabbath is Jewish. Now let's answer the question of the Sabbath being referred to as opposed to Christianity. So that some are questioning, wasn't Charlie Kirk a Christian? Why would he use a Jewish term? Why would he make a Jewish reference? No, the Sabbath is not opposed to Christianity. In Acts chapter 11 and verse 26, we are told, "And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch, and it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people, and the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch." So the term Christian is one that was given to disciples of Christ in his church in a place called Antioch. And the Greek word is Christianos. The root of it is Christos, and it simply means a follower of Christ. You can find it in any Bible dictionary. So Christianity, which comes from Christ, is not opposed to the Sabbath, because Christ said he is Yahweh of the Sabbath. Amen.